Alright, so we're going into the top 10 best classes to use in Warzone. After the previous patch, they just changed the agency suppressor. They nerfed it, and they rebuffed it again, and they added some stuff to it. They buffed it. It's now better on SMGs than it used to be, but it's about the same for everything else. But we're just going to get right into it. They also changed the barrels, but we'll talk more about some details on the classes when we get into them. Okay, so number 10, we have the Bruin and the Cold War MP5. The Bruin, if you played in Season 4 last year, Bruin was one of the better weapons to ever come out. It was super accurate with no damage drop off, and that's what the big kicker was. But you ran the Monolithic, the Summit Barrel, Commando foregrip, the 60 round mag, that's the super important one. Gives you all your assault rifle mobility, faster reload, faster running speed, aim down sight speed, everything that's mobility, 60 round mag gives it to you. The VLK 3X is what I prefer. You don't have to use it. You can use the holographic sight with that nice blue dot. That's what Nick Merckx runs. Or he doesn't use a blue dot, but he runs that holo sight. It's his favorite bread and butter class. Favorite weapon, for sure. But I prefer that 3X. It gives you that slight more recoil control, and it feels like it gives you more range on the optic for long range kills, and since is your primary weapon, it's what you really want to be going for. It also doesn't have any bullet drop because damage drop off because it is an LMG. I just wanted to give light to the Bruin and the Cold War MP5 because these guns are still really good. The Cold War MP5, you can still make it happen. It kicks a lot. It does have the fastest time to kill as far as with body shots within its effective range. Doesn't have the most range compared to the Mac 10 or the Bullfrog, but when it comes to straight up time to kill, Cold War MP5 is the fastest, as provided you don't get any headshots. The agency suppressor just got a 30% damage range buff for SMGs, so you definitely want to be rocking this thing. The Cavalry Lancer gives you even more range. There's not really anything that makes it have better recoil control, so we're just trying to get as much range as we possibly can out of this thing. Field Agent Grip, however, is what gives us vertical and horizontal recoil control. That's the biggest problem with this weapon by far, is its recoil pattern. It's kind of wonky. It doesn't feel right. It's weird, but it can drop people. Obviously, you want to use the 50 round drum mag if you're playing quads. If you're playing just solos, you take the mag off, slap on the target designator flashlight, or you could use combat or no stock. Both of those are fine, but the real thing that I recommend is the Microflex LED. The iron sights on this gun are not it. They're kind of bulky. It's kind of hard to see people, especially if they're using a rose skin. They'll just blend right in. If you use a Microflex LED, it feels like the gun doesn't have much more. It feels like it gives the gun less recoil. You're gonna hit your shots more often. This attachment is pretty crucial in my opinion. But here's the class. Give these guns a shot. You won't be disappointed. But there are definitely better options. Now, for the real classes, we still have the DMR Mac 10. The DMR is still pretty good. It just kicks way more than it used to, and it doesn't have as much range. The DMR is still the exact same build: titanium barrel, agency suppressor, field agent grip, 30 round mag, 3x scope. All of the same things you'd used to run back in the dark days of the Cold War integration, where this gun ruined the game. This gun can still get the job done. It just kicks a little bit more. You can even change the agency silencer to the infantry compensator just for more vertical recoil control. I don't think that's necessary, but you know, it's totally up to you. The Mac 10. This gun is still insanely good. It has the highest range out of all the SMGs, and it just got an even it just got even more with the agency suppressor buff. So instead of us having, I think, a 10% range buff, now it's 30%. So I think it went from 25 meters to, could have been 30. I don't want to do the quick math or anything, but it could be around 30 meters before this thing has its first damage drop off, and that is crazy for an SMG. The Cavalry Lancer, they did change the Task Force barrel. So if you use a Task Force barrel, you're going to get more vertical and horizontal recoil. And then the strafe speed and the bullet velocity, those really are not. Those pros do not outweigh these cons, because the Cavalry Lancer gives more effective damage range, and since you're within 30 meters, bullet velocity isn't going to matter that much, because they're basically in hit scan range anyway. So you just want the most effective damage range out of your barrel, and that is the Cavalry Lancer. The rifle gives a lot of damage range, but it slows you down. And with the MAC-10, this is the fastest weapon in the game to run around with, has the most movement speed by far. You don't want to slow that down. For accuracy, Field Agent Grim every single time. Ammo, you want the 53 round drum. Like I said earlier, you don't want to slow down. This slows you down. Oddly enough, fast mag does not mean fast according to the MAC-10. But for the stock, you have two options. You can use the no stock or the SAS combat stock. The no stock gives you, it's a little bit slower, but it is useful. It gives you better hip fire accuracy than the combat stock. This gives you better firing movement speed and overall more speed, but you will have less hip fire accuracy. So if you like hip firing, go with the no stock. If you don't like hip firing, like I don't, go with the combat stock. The Raider stock does the exact opposite of what it tells us. It slows you down and it makes your gun have even worse hip fire. That only applies to the SMGs, but just stick with the combat or the no stock and you'll be golden. So that's number 9. Number 8, but regarding the class, the Bullfrog, people sleep on the Bullfrog. The Bullfrog is so good. It is so good. When we use the Bullfrog, you need to get one headshot. Just one to have a better time to kill than the MAC-10. It has slightly less range than the MAC-10, but that's okay, because it's like within 3 meters. So you want to rock the Groove Suppressor. It's the exact same as the Agency Suppressor, just, you know, different this is a Russian weapon. Different manufacturer, just call it Groove Suppressor. It does the exact same thing. So basically, via the VDV reinforced barrel, you are gonna need that damage range and bullet velocity. You're gonna need that on the Bullfrog because you're gonna need to compete with the MAC-10. So the underbarrel, you can use the Spetsnaz grip. This is really not anything else you should use. This is the exact same thing as the Field Agent grip, except you could use this, but it really doesn't work properly. So unless this gets fixed, and I have no idea about it, just stick with the Spetsnaz grip. Now the mag, there's a lot of discussion on what kind of mag you should use. The Vandal Speed Loader is better than the regular fast mag. This has no cons to it. It just has faster reloading speed than the regular fast mag. The 65 round mag has no cons to it. Just gives you a 65 round mag. The 85 round mag, however, gives you it cuts your aim down sight speed by half of a frame. So if you're competing with the MAC-10, that's a lot. And this, don't even bother with this. This does not increase your reload speed, drops your ADS time. I think it slows down your movement speed as well. Don't even bother with this thing. But if you're running quads, this is viable. I think this is probably the best because it makes you compete with the MAC-10 and it gives you 65 round mags. I tried the Vandal Speed Loader. You just don't want to reload in the middle of a gunfight. It helps, but I feel like in more cases than not, I'd rather have those extra 15 bullets. Because if I miss, I have to stop and reload. If I don't miss with this, I can keep shooting, and that's going to net me more kills and fewer deaths at the end of the day. And then the KGB skeletal stock. This attachment is just like the Raider stock, except it works properly. This will increase your speed all over across the board except your hip fire. But this gun has really good hip fire anyway, and even with the KGB stock, it's still really solid, so you don't really need to worry about using either of these. If you want the more hip fire, you can use a PKM stock, but this will get the job done more than enough. This attachment makes the gun faster than the MAC-10 in regards to aim down sight and sprint to fire time. But the biggest reason the Bullfrog is just outclassed by the MAC-10s because the MAC-10, like I said earlier, gives more movement speed. Straight up. And the MAC-10 shoots faster. It feels like it kills faster, but the reality is the Bullfrog kills just as fast. You just run faster with the MAC-10. That's it. But to some people, that's crucial. Number 7. This can be your Ghost class of any kind or your Restock class, whatever you want to run. I prefer Ghost because I'm a dork and I love beating people that are better than me. It's the only way to do it. I use the AMAX because the AMAX is good at all ranges, close, medium, long. This thing shreds people. It doesn't really have a damage drop off. The damage drop off on this gun is pretty negligible. It's good up close, good far, good medium. The M19 though is what I recommend if you just cannot figure out what to use. M19 with akimbo and the 5 milliwatt laser, you know, the longest barrel, monolithic mags, you know the deal. Lightweight trigger. Maybe take the mag off, slap on akimbo. You will be shocked at how powerful this is. You can hit people 4 or 5 times and you will probably kill them. It's that good. Like, don't sleep. But if you want to swap Ghost for Restock, rock a stun grenade and rock some Simtexes and go after people, by all means do that. But I think you should use the AMAX for your Ghost class because it has the most versatility. Okay, now we're getting to the nitty gritty. These top 6 classes are the ones that you're probably going to be running tournaments with, and you'll figure that out. You'll see a pattern here. So the M16, it did just get outshined by the AUG in the recent patch. The AUG is now way better. It has more bullet velocity and faster fire rate. But the M16 is still really good. It still has the same damage, 70 headshot damage, like 35 regular damage. You can still get 2 burst kills with it, as long as one's a headshot. Has great range, great accuracy, great bullet velocity. It's just the AUG. It's just that much better. It just has that much more. That's the only difference. The FAR, however, is the backup weapon we're going to be using because the FAR, hands down, is the best gun in the game. M16 is good for long range, medium, probably about 40 meters out, maybe 30 if they're not paying attention. If you run into someone within 30 to 40 meters though, bust out the FFAR. This gun is nasty still. This gun's even better than what it used to be in my opinion. You got the agency suppressor, they just reverted the changes on it. It's basically the same thing. Gives you the recoil reduction, gives you the range buff, gives you the sound suppression, and gives you the bullet velocity. Those are very important on an assault rifle like this. And the reason that the FAR can be used as an SMG and still have insane range is with the combat stock and the takedown barrel. Now you could also run the reinforced heavy barrel or the Ranger barrel. The Ranger barrel gives the best bullet velocity. This gives you really, really good bullet velocity. The difference between these two is minimal. It's like within 1%. It's so close. But the takedown barrel also gives you strafe speed. Reinforced heavy reverts your strafe speed. So you could probably go reinforced heavy and Raider stock, or you can go takedown with combat stock. And you probably have the same effectiveness, but the takedown barrel is not going to have the sprint moving speed and the aim walking movement speed. You're not going to have those on takedown barrel. And if you're close range, that movement speed is important. Before the patch, you would use the SVOD speed grip, but for whatever reason, this just feels better. This just feels like a way better attachment with the agency suppressor. And then obviously you want to use the Salvo 50 round fast mag. This mag is easily the best magazine in the entire game. Super fast reload speed and 50 round mags. Overall, this class, if the AUG was not as good as it was, this would be a top 3 class in the game. But the AUG is what it is, so we'll move right on to number 5, the AMAX MAC-10. Same story as earlier. AMAX is godlike at all ranges, but primarily we're using this one at probably past 30 meters. I would go to say within 30 meters, the MAC-10 is still going to be better than most other weapons. The AMAX long range, just get used to that recoil control. It kicks up and to the left pretty aggressively, but when you get that under control, this thing is a beam, and you will drop people at ranges. Same story with the MAC-10, same class. Movement speed is key on the MAC-10. If you can see, all the classes are pretty much the exact same when it comes to perks, lethals, and tacticals. I use Simtexes because Simtexes are the best. In my opinion, they feel like they throw way further than they used to in the past couple patches, so be mindful of that. You could also swap it out for C4 or a Claymore if you're that kind of player. You could swap the heartbeats out for stuns. These are just what I use. Tacticals and lethals, all personal preference. The perks, however, you need amped. If you're not running amped, you're wrong. Straight up. If you have an overkill class and you're not running amped, you're wrong. Just straight up. You're so much slower that way. But perk 1, you can use EOD or double time. I prefer EOD because I don't like getting blown up. Double time might be better. I just don't like getting blown up. But back to the regular setups. The AUG is going to be the next gun we're talking about at number 4, AUG and the MAC-10. The Cold War AUG, like I was saying earlier, is filthy good. The strike team barrel is what you want to be used because it gives you that fire rate. You can use the titanium barrel too. The bullet velocity on the AUG is the same as the M16 now. The agency suppressor and the strike team barrel, that bullet velocity is at like 1100 meters per second, which is about on par with the AMAX, which is really good. It didn't used to be anywhere near that. It used to be at like 800, 900. Now it's at 1100. So you got way better bullet velocity on the AUG. The strike team barrel makes the fire rate on this weapon absolutely insane. And with the Axle 3 arms, you got the classic T-cross scope, and you can just beam people with this gun. It's the same TTK. It takes the same amount of bullets as the M16, but you can shoot those bullets way faster. You still want to use the Field Agent foregrip, and you still want to use the 54 round drum mag every time. Unless you're playing duos, you could get away with the 45 round drum mag, but more often than not, 54 is more than enough. Rear grips. Rear grips don't do anything. Don't use rear grips on any weapon. And with the AUG, you're not really concerned about being fast. You're more concerned about those 3 bullets hitting your target. So you need the accuracy, and you need the optic. I don't recommend using the base scope on the AUG. It's really, really weird looking. It's just a circle with a dot, and it's like a 1.5 times scope. You don't really see much. You can't really hit anything. I don't recommend it. But you want to use the MAC-10 with it in this class. MAC-10, same story. Fast, really fast TTK. That AUG has a weird range where if you can't hit your shots up close, it just doesn't feel like it's going to do well. But you can. You can do it with the AUG. But in the event that you're just not super accurate, pull out the MAC-10 and just spray them down. You'll get the job done, no problem. Okay. Now, if the FFAR is just not what you want to use, and you don't want to use 2 assault rifle classes in your class, 2 assault rifles in your class, so you can have different ammo types, this is probably the best class in the whole game. But if you are willing to use 2 assault rifles and share ammo, AMAX FAR, AUG FAR, these are the best classes for quads, in my opinion. Now the AMAX, you got the same deal, long range king, and you pair it with this gun, the FAR. Oh my goodness, bro, no one's stopping you. You have This gun is the fastest TTK gun in the game without headshots. It has insane range. AMAX is the same story, it just has more range with the VLK and the better recoil pattern. So if you're within close range, far, not close range, you can use far or AMAX. If you're not within close range, use the AMAX and just snipe people with it. Same story with this class, AUG, far, you just drop people. The AUG is way easier to use than the AMAX, that's why it's ranked above the AMAX. AUG is so much easier to use. I will point out that some people will try to say that the SUSAD multi-zoom gives less recoil, and that's just not true. What actually happens is the 2x, you have a 2x and a 4x as opposed to a 3x. The 2x is going to have less perceivable recoil because it doesn't zoom in as far, but the bullet pattern is going to be the same, but the perceived recoil is it's going to be less than the 2x as opposed to the 3x. But if you zoom in all the way with the 4x, it actually kicks a lot more than this. Again, and that's because it zooms in a lot more. But the bullet pattern stays the same. So just stick with the 3x. It does not punish your aim down sight speed like the multi-zoom does. Alright, and now for the best class. You can use this class in any situation. Quads, solos, duos, trios. You're going to be fine. The Car 98 and the FAR. FAR car. Number one, this is a fun name to say. Say FAR car like 3 times. You'll know what I'm talking about. But you can also whip out the car at any range, and if you can get a headshot, you got it down. If you're in quads, one headshot can change a squad fight. If you're in trios, one headshot, Car 98. That can change a fight. And then you can rush in there with this bad boy. And, you know, if you're rushing into a building and they have a MAC-10, you can beat them with this thing. They have a bullfrog, you can beat them. They have a shotgun, just move, just have the movement. Just move better than they can, you can beat them. But that's only if they have a shotgun. Any situation you're in, this FAR will beat them. Unless they got another FAR. Then you just gotta hope that you're not desyncing. But any situation, 30 meters, within 30 meters, you've got the FAR. Any 30-meter engagement you're in afterwards, Car 98. Even closer, you can hit the sick, nasty snipe with the Car 98 and finish them off with the FAR. Because the FAR's got crazy bullet velocity, it's got crazy range, and it's got insane TTK. You're well equipped for any situation that the game throws at you, as long as you have these 2 classes. Or these 2 weapons. Alright, and that's really all I've got for my top 10 classes. This one, again, is just experimental. I do think the Bruin is really good. However, you could definitely whip out the M4.